now, heading down towards Skyline. Just ahead of him, I think, is the Larry Perkins V8 Commodore. And we take the floor cam version that shows you just looks very relaxing. As always, the trademark of a very professional and polished race car driver. He does make it look very, very easy. But it's not easy work out there. Hard day at the office for Mark Scape and Jimmy Richards. The Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore gives him the inside run to the turn. They take the inside of the other Sierra as Larry hooks on, trying to get a draft. There's Jimmy Richards, Tom Smith from Shell. Good day for him. He's got them in the top three. He's got the trifecta up top. Down to the end of Conrod Straight, they swing towards the chase. Perkins, position 11. They're up a lot stronger than that early in the day. Had problems, drifted out, now coming back into the top 10. Just look at the ground it makes under brakes.
Hall's in the Terry Finnegan, Food Town's Commodore entry. Effortless. Well, many considered that he would be the strongest running Commodore here today, that the new spec Commodores wouldn't survive because they were just too new. Let's go down there and just see what the problem is.
Yes, thanks, Gary. Scheduled stop driver change in some respects, but the real reason is they've been having trouble with the alternator, and that is still giving them a bit.
Well, many considered that he would be the strongest running Commodore here today, that the new spec Commodores wouldn't survive because they were just too new. Let's go down there and just see what the problem is.
Yes, thanks, Gary. Scheduled stop driver change in some respects, but the real reason is they've been having trouble with the alternator, and that is still giving them a bit of curry, just topping up the oil and changing the tyres as well. But the alternator and the battery problem has been ongoing. It's not something they're paying a lot of attention to at the moment, so maybe it was just the odd connection there, because it's not something that's put a lot of time in during this stop. It's mainly been change of tyre and driver. Larry Perkins now coming out. Interestingly, the car's had a bit of a shunt up the front while it's been out there as well. So, and now more trouble, I think. Steve Harrington just pointing to the crew. Seems to have some sort of problem, but he hasn't cut the engine, so you would think they would be going shortly. But this has been a fairly lengthy stop for what was really hoped to be just the changing of one connection. Trouble's the back left-hand wheel. It's now done. They're off. But that's cost them a bit of time, and they haven't really had a lot of time to play around with all the mistakes they've had.
Rejoining the race in 12th position is the Perkins-Harrington Commodore, Bob Jane sponsored entry. And we go back to race leader Mark Scaife. A young man in a hurry, and he's in such a hurry he's achieved almost everything at the age of 25. The Australian Touring Car Championship, defending champion here in the Tooheys 1000 at Mount Panorama. That was after having finished second in the Touring Car Championship of 1991. He's also the Australian Drivers' Champion, and originally from the central coast of New South Wales, but now firmly ensconced in Melbourne, headquarters of the Winfield Nissan team.
He won this race last year, Gary, and he's well on his way to winning it this year.
He sure is.
He's great to watch, especially in traffic when he's got slower cars in front of him. It tends to be the mark of a really great driver, the way that they deal with the slower cars, and Scapey charging past a lot of slower cars in places that many other drivers would back off and hang on for a little while.
Well, again, with such astonishing handling, he can take lines that a lot of other drivers couldn't take. I mean, he can pass. He physically can pass in places that other people would consider suicidal.
Winfield Nissan have got the great race by the throat at the moment, and it's just playing even further and further into their hands because the traffic has thinned out somewhat now, with a number of cars dropping out. The track is drying out, and Mark Scaife is getting a good crack at it up front after this stage of the race. They continue to lead. Richard Scaife, car number 1, second place 17, Johnson Bauer, third place. Car number 2 is the second Nissan entry, Olofsson and Crompton. Car 25, Longhurst Chicotto, are in 4th place. Car 16, the first of the HRT Commodores, Percy and Grice, in 5th position.
running in 6th, Andy Madecki and Troy Dunstan with the Mobile 1 Commodore. Then the second of Dick Johnson's Ford Sierras, the Shield Crick example, in 7th. Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow in 8th. Wayne Park and David Parsons in 9th. And then the Harris Cook entry in 10th.
In 11th position, Finnegan and Rogers in the Foodtown Commodore. Perkins and Harrington in 12th. Grant and Grant in 13th. O'Brien and Graham in the Everlast Commodore in 14th position. And Waldock Peters, Playscape Sierra in 15th.
Let's keep going. Check the entire field. Johnson Wall, the Commodore VL in 16th position rather. 17th position, car 34, Gulson and Beck in the BMW 635. Position 18, car 71, the Bargwana cousins in the Corolla. Position 19 is car 70, Bates and Bates. So they're not leading that class any longer. The Bargwana boys do. Bates and Bates in 19th. 20th place, Mazira and Jones in, well, what was the other Commodore? It's not running any longer.
McCall and Gazard in 21st, car 13 in 22nd position, Jones and Jansen. 23rd, 74, Verheyen and Jeffrey Full. 24th, car 10, Needsbits and Hansford, one of the pre-race favourites. And 25th, car 9, its teammate, Charlie O'Brien and Gary Brabham.
Seaton and Jones in 26th after disappointment. Burke and Garling 27th. Dunford and Wright in the Toyota Corolla 28th. Easton and Stratton in yet another of the little Corollas in 29th. And Moore and Gardner, after several problems earlier in the race, winding up that bracket.
Car 31, Dillman Cotter out of the race now. Car 76 rather is in 32nd position. Gardner and Conway in a Corolla. Position 33 held by Murphy and Barnes, also a Corolla. Position 34, Brock and Reuter, their race is run. And position 35, Ray and Talbot in a Corolla.
Position 36, Matthews and Newton with their Sierra. Holden and Jones in 37th. 38th, Reed and Ashby. That car, of course, out with an incident that we saw earlier. 39th, Binding and Tyndall with the Corolla. And 40th, Kerr and Watson with their Commodore.
41st there, Hendrick and Blanchard, the Commodore VL. 42nd, Hopwood and Bosnjak. Although we saw that car involved in a very nasty incident, it's not going around anymore. English Lamont, the Marathon Foods Commodore in 43rd. The very, very sad entry there. We've heard news, of course, earlier today that Denny Hume has passed away. The number 44 car no longer running as a result. And Wilmington Watkinson in 45.
And just to round out the field, 46th position, Sala and Weeks, Ford Sierra, and 47th. They didn't get very far, Bond and Smith. That's the field in the great race.
Welcome back. We're heading into the serious survival phase of the Tooheys 1000 and updating the 5th hour for you. No shortage of action, and for Mark Gibbs especially, he was forced into the pits to tape up the front end of his Nissan after a bingle pushed the guard onto the front tyre, causing a fair bit of smoke there. Another drama for the privateer entries. Car number 40, the Wilmington Commodore, stalled in the pits and had to be pushed out of the way of other cars. Meanwhile, out on the track, Scaife and the Works Nissan still led, but John Bowers' Sierra passed the other Nissan GTR, which is driven by Anders Olofsson and Neil Crompton, to move into second spot. At the end of pit straight, though, fiery Brad Jones spun his Holden Racing Team Commodore. That left it stranded on the Ripple Street. And spare a thought for Wayne Park. He's been battling all day. He went cross-country, and after a long stroll through the grass, finally managed to get his battered Peter Jackson Sierra underway again, and is limping around Mount Panorama as we speak. No such luck for the Impala Kitchens BMW. It fried itself shortly after the 100 lap mark. That was hour number 5 as the great race continues here at Mount Panorama.
Thank you, Cameron Williams. This is car 36. Ken Matthews, a long-time campaigner here, along with Colin Bond, ran a second Caltex car for Colin Bond for many years, but running this entry, owned by Rod Jones in partnership with Rod and Mick Newton from the UK, and in just trying to find their position on the racetrack at the present time. They've been involved in a couple of incidents. One up at Forest Elbow that cost them some time. They've been on and off the track a couple of times, but they're well back in the field, running in about 34th position outright.
That was that incident with Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow.
That's the one, yes.
Where we had tyre damage and delay. Speaking of Nissans, the Winfield Nissans are preparing for a driver change and, I believe, a brake change on both their cars. You can see the dent in the door. Yeah, that must have been where that action took place. There on the left-hand side of the car.
It's the Gulson NEC 635, just in behind them. Still going strong, so Ray Gulson looking for his 21st finish at Mount Panorama in 21 starts.
And a good impression of how Group A cars have changed. At one time, the 635 was one of the cars to have.
It was the hot car, wasn't it? Well, it won the first Australian Touring Car Championship when we went to the Group A specification.
And, of course, won the European Touring Car Championship in the hands of Roberto Ravali.
Ken Matthews, a good punter. Despite the damage, the car still running quite strongly, if not in competition, as we've said a number of times, with the new specification V8s and the turbo-charged Nissans. Car 37 is Toyota Supra. And again, we've got a lot of sports sedan punters running in the great race this year. These are two of the best, John Burke and Keith Carling. Keith Carling runs that awesome Nissan sports sedan that we saw early in our program today in the sports sedan event. There have been a couple of these cars. Johnny Smith ran one of the Supras, the turbocharged Supras here for a couple of seasons. Not with a lot of success. They are very naturally, as a road going car, a very, very heavy car. The biggest thing, the best thing they've got going for them is that they do have enormous brakes, marvellous brakes, and good staying power, but just not the grunt to be competitive with the likes of the car in front of it at the moment.
It's quite a character, Berkey. I used to have the old Shanley with him on a hot day when I worked at 2GO Gosford on the Central Coast.
Kevin Waldock is coming into the pits, and I think John Brady is on the spot.
He is indeed. Thanks very much for that, Wilco. I'll get you for that. But Kevin Waldock coming in for a driver's change. Of course, John Hewson, he of the front right wheel, is in this team. So it'll be interesting to see how they go on their timing. But this car travelling very well, actually, as the privateers run. And Waldock's been very towy to get back into it. He's been trying to get it back in for a couple of laps now. He'll be keen to try and get back out and set some times. Looking like a pretty good stop at the moment. All going according to plan. Just tyres. 26 seconds so far, and they're about ready. So 34 seconds, and away goes Kevin Waldock.
Yeah.
Thank you, John Brady. We're in 17th position when they came into pit. So again, they're another team that, despite the early problems that John Hewson spoke about when he spoke to Bruce McAvaney, running strongly at the right end of the day.
Originally, John Hewson was going to do the left wheel, but he asked if they could move him just a little to the right.
Car 74 with the green strip across the back. There's Peter Verheyen and Jeffrey Full. And I mentioned a couple of times Jeffrey Full bidding for his third successive win in this category. They're running in third place in the 1600cc class at the present time. He won it 2 years ago with David Ratcliffe and last year with Paul Morris.
I have a feeling they might be up to second place in that class now because...
oh, the Bates car is off, yes. The Bates twins from Canberra, unfortunately, have had to park their car.
They're back again.
They're back again in the race, are they? Oh, good.
They did stop during the break, but apparently they've got the thing going again.
Peter Verheyen, too, no stranger to Bathurst, having campaigned a number of cars in this smaller category here over the last 4 or 5 years.
He's got Wayne Gardner on one of the HRT cars, both looking for a way past in there.
Well, they'll find it, whether he moves over or not, but which he wisely did. 25, Tony Longhurst, Johnny Cicotto in fourth position. And that is a...